Hi everyone, my name's Anthony Cummins and I'm going to tell you the top 10 things you need to know about Natori Ryu. Nobody knows when Natori Ryu actually started, but what we do know is that the official records say it was sometime in the late 1500s. And it was started by a man called Natori Masatoshi. Now, what the family history does say is that this Natori Masatoshi was known to Takeda Shingen, which means he was not that close, but he was known by name by Takeda Shingen, and that, you know, he was one of the people that they relied upon within the core of the army. Natori Ryu is also known as SHIN KUSUNOKI Ryu. That means the new flow of Kusunoki. Now, we know it was named this later on in its history. It was named this about 100 years after it was established. It was named by Tokugawa Yorinobu, and he was the lord of Kishu province, and Natori served him. And Natori, we assume, was one of his confidants. But the lord decided to rename the school and call it Shin Kusunoki. So that means anything before that is Natori Ryu. After that, it becomes Shin Kusunoki Ryu, and sometimes people drop the Shin and just call it Kusunoki Ryu. So a quick rule of thumb is this: if it's Natori Ryu, it's 100% our Natori Ryu. If it's Shin Kusunoki Ryu, it's 100% our Natori Ryu. If it's Kusunoki Ryu, it could be one of many branches. The reason I have called it Natori Ryu is because that was how it was written down in the final records of the school, and it was recorded as Natori Ryu in the official log and scroll. So we're sticking with the name Natori Ryu. It also helps separate the other Kusunoki lineages. Now, Natori Masazumi, the main guy we follow, is the grandson of Natori Masatoshi, and he's the third Grandmaster. Now, he is someone who brought the school to a new level. He is the one that introduced the Kusunoki element. So before that, it was pure Natori Ryu. Natori Masazumi mixed Kusunoki Ryu with Natori Ryu to create the line we now know. Natori Masazumi entered service in 1654, and we know he died in 1708, and he had a massive effect on this school. There are many branches of Kusunoki Ryu. Our branch of Kusunoki Ryu probably, most likely, comes through Kusunoki Fuden. Now this in turn comes through a man called Yui Shosetsu. So Yui Shosetsu was actually a student of Kusunoki Fuden, and that, we presume, and in all probability, is the Kusunoki branch that we have inside of Natori Ryu. Natori Ryu is a Gungaku school. That means military study, and it was the third most important school in Kishu Han, which was one branch of the Tokugawa family. So for all those years, you know that Natori Ryu was there in one of the most important families, and they were military advisors to one of the most important families in all of Japan. Natori Ryu actually contains one of the, if not the, largest ninja curriculums that we have left. Of course, Natori Ryu's fame comes from the Shoninki, but actually in Natori Ryu there's much more ninjutsu. There are in fact 3 separate ninja scrolls, and throughout all of the Natori Ryu teachings, lots of ninjutsu comes into play. So when you add it all up, including all of the gunpowder recipes, all of the extracts from the encyclopedia, the 3 ninja scrolls, and all of the small tidbits from all over all the manuals, once you put all that together, we can safely say it's one of the largest ninja curriculums that's been left to history, and we have it here at Natori Ryu. The family records say that even samurai of the Edo period, probably around 1700 to 1730, found Natori Ryu to be outdated and too old school. Now, this may sound negative, but it's actually a really good point for us to follow. You see, some lectures were given by Natori Masazumi's grandson, and who's called Natori Hyozaemon. And apparently the lectures were not received too well. It was presumed that this was too old, it was old school, it was a part of samurai life that doesn't really happen anymore. So what does that mean for us? Well, it actually means that Natori's study is focused on the Sengoku period. Natori sensei went all around as collecting as much as he could to get all the information about the warring periods and how they used to have combat in the warring periods. Now for Edo period samurai, this was quite boring because they were not interested in that. They were in a time of peace and they wanted probably something a bit more flowery. So for us that's great news, because it means what we're studying was seen as really old for Edo period samurai, which means we're studying the core of what it means to be a Sengoku period warrior. Now for all the time of their service to the Tokugawa family, they lived in Kishu, and their Natori family still live in Kishu to this day. And all of the Natori Ryu members from Natori Masazumi are buried at Eunji Temple, and you can visit the grave of Natori Masazumi and other Natori family members if you make your way to Wakayama, Japan. Now, at the end of the samurai era, there's something called the Boshin War. This was where the shogunate forces went against the imperial forces. Now, the imperial forces won this with modern technology, but we do know that Natori Ryu was on the shogunate side, and they were tacticians for part of the army, and they also a medical unit where they looked after sword wounds and they made sure the injured were okay. Now of course the shogunate lost that and Japan came into a modern era, but it's the only time that we know that Natori Ryu after Natori Masazumi was at war. Before that it was the core Natori Ryu that was with Takeda's Shingen. Now, in approximately 1868, the main line of Natori Ryu closed down. We actually have this in the family records. It says that because of this Boshin War and because modern technology was too much, they thought samurai ways were just outdated. So the Grandmaster at that time closed the school down and he donated all of the documents to a temple, and some students took different parts of the school and separated. Now, something that we have found is that we do know that a branch of Natori Ryu survived at least until the 20th century, probably the mid to later 20th century, but it is now closed down. The building is still there, the documents are still there, but the actual branch has closed down. So as far as we're aware, that was the last lineage of Natori Ryu before it fully closed. And of course, we have come along and reopened it. Right, that is 10 major facts about Natori Ryu. I hope you enjoyed that. If you're struggling with anything, come back to this and it'll give you a grasp of what's going on. And of course, Natori Ryu students, pass this video around and show other people who want to know about Natori Ryu. My name's Anthony Cummins, subscribe, and I hope to talk to you again in the future.